Today I'm going to talk about solving linear algebraic equations. As you can see on the board here, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 basic linear algebraic equations here. I'm going to use these to illustrate the things you can do with an equation. Now, the main thing about linear algebraic equations is that your equation must be balanced. Okay, they have to have the same value on the left hand side and the right hand side. So it's kind of like, you can think of it as though it is a scale here, right? So these two sides must have the same weight for it to maintain its balance. So if you want to take away something on the left side, you must take away the equal weight on the right side so that it maintains its balance, right? Or you can think of it as a seesaw, correct? It's the same idea. It's the same idea. You want it to maintain it, being straight, you have to, whatever you do on one side, you have to do on the other. So just keep this thought in mind, and it will help you a lot when you're doing linear algebraic equations. So I'm making the assumption that you guys have no idea about algebraic equations, so that's why I'm gonna talk a bit slower in a sense. That means I'm not gonna rush it through. If you already have experience doing this, then you can kind of skip this part, okay? Alright, let's look at the questions here that I've written. The first one, x plus 2 equals 5. So the key thing is that you want to isolate x. Means you want the answer basically has to be of this form. X equals to something, a value. Any kind of value can be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 100, 1000. So now x is not alone. X has a friend, number 2, right? Here. So to isolate x, meaning I want to have x as alone as possible, right? I have to take away this 2. So what I do is I minus 2 on the left hand side. Because once I minus 2, I will get x. Am I right? X plus 2 minus 2 is x plus 0. But remember, we are talking about equation. This equality sign is very important. So for you to do something on the left hand side, right, you have to do the same thing, exactly the same thing on the right hand side. So what is 5 minus 2? Pretty straightforward. You should know this very quickly. It is 3. So there you go. This is how you do addition. Okay, if x plus something, right, you have to minus the extra bit off. So similarly, I'll just briefly go through this one. It's the same thing, right? So if I have minus, I just have to add back 5 to get x. Okay, so I hope this is clear to you. Now, so plus minus is pretty straightforward. Now we'll come to multiply and divide. So I hope that intuitively you can tell what I'm going to do. I'm going to divide by 6, right? Because 6x divided by 6 means x. So the key is, remember, you want x to be alone. So 42 divided by 6, 7, right? What do I do here? I times this number on the bottom, so I get x. Okay, so there's 24. So these are the 4 operations. So a linear algebraic equation will be a combination of all these operations that you have to do. Okay, it will not be so straightforward as you go on to things that are more advanced. So just keep this in mind for now. Okay, now I have 2 extra questions here because you will encounter situations like this at some point. So let's say you're isolating x, and then okay, you come down to this point where you have minus x equals 8. So one way I think of it is that you just, this minus x is actually minus 1x, correct? I have said this before. So what I have to do is just multiply by minus 1. Because remember what I said, double negatives make a positive. So I would get x, and here of course multiply by negative 1. I will get minus 8. This is my answer. Okay, so basically you can think of it as though you're shifting the negative sign over. Okay, but you must understand why it's like this. You don't just memorize this, you have to know this is what is going on here. Okay, now this is similar to that. Okay, because there are 2 ways you can do this. You can do number 6 using number 5. Okay, remember what I said? I said isolate x, right? So I will minus 3 on both sides. Oh, sorry, I write minus 3. you minus 3 on both sides, you get negative x equals 9 minus 3, right? Which you get 6. So okay, now I have minus x equals 6. Then you can do the same thing as I did previously and you get x equals minus 6. But I'm going to show you something a little bit different. So there's a reason why I wrote this separately as a different question, because I'm going to explain something interesting that will help you solve these kind of questions very quickly. So, can you see that 3 minus x equals 9? So 3 is what I call the whole, and x and 9 are the parts. It's as though I'm saying, let's look at it as though it's a pie or a pizza, okay? So 3, so this green circle represents 3. Minus x, so let's say I ate x portion of a pizza, okay? So I ate this portion. This is x portion. So originally I had 3, okay, and I ate x portion of a pizza. So I am left with 9. So 9 is my leftover. This is 9, the red shaded part, okay? So what I'm trying to say is this 3, I minus x, I get 9, correct? But I can do it differently. I can do 3. If I minus 9, I will get x, correct? Am I right? So x and 9 are the parts of 3. So what I'm trying to say, so this is a little bit advanced, okay? If you don't get this, that's fine. You don't need to get this now. Maybe in the future you will understand it, okay? What I'm going to do is I'm going to switch the position of 9 and x. So now I've pretty much just done 2 steps in one, you see? So x is very nice, he's alone and he is positive, he's not negative. So x will be 3 minus 9, which is negative 6. Okay, so the reasoning for why I can do from this step to this step is this. If I say 3 is the whole, I minus x, I get 9. It's the same as saying 3, if I minus 9, I also get x. It's equal. This equality is correct. It remains. Okay, it holds. Even though I switched the 9 and the x. You guys, I hope you get it right. Okay, so that's number 6. But if you don't get it again, like I said, if you don't get it, that's totally fine. You don't have to get it now. Okay, it's a little bit advanced, I understand. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do some questions so that I get used to it. The first one that I'm going to do will be, I'll write it here. Okay, question 1. So I have done fractional coefficients in the previous video, so this should be easy, I hope. Okay, so it's kind of like what I did in the previous video, right? But previously all we've been doing is expressions, now we're doing equations. So expressions would be like this. This is an expression. The moment you have an equal sign, we call it an equation. So the same rule applies as though you're doing an expression, okay? So common denominator is 6. So I'm not going to spend too much time explaining why it's like this. If you don't get this, then you should watch my previous video. So the right hand side remains, okay? Then all I have to do is just to combine this fraction. Okay, 3 times 3. I'm just going to skip some steps, okay? Try to follow 2x minus 8. Okay, so always try to simplify this expression first before you do anything related to equations. So as you can see, I've done nothing about the equation. I'm just working on this part, the expression part, okay? So I still have some simplifying to do. 9 minus 8 is 1. Minus 3 plus 2x is basically minus x. Okay, so now as you can see, this expression, okay, is as simple as it gets already. It's the simplest form. So then we do the equation part. Now look at point number 4, okay? This is exactly point number 4. What I have to do next is I have to times 6 on both sides. Then I get 1 minus x, and I get 12. Okay? Here, I can either choose to do 5 or choose to do 6. I'm going to do 6. What I'm going to do is basically 1 minus, so what I do is this 2 position, swap. Okay? And then I will get x equals negative 11. Of course, if you don't get number 6, I would do number 5 for you. The other way would basically be 1 minus x, so I'll bring 1 over. Minus x equals 12 minus 1. okay, which is minus x is 11, then I do this. Okay? So both ways are fine. You don't have to stress out if you cannot get 6. Okay, now we'll do the next question. Just one more. So equations are pretty much not too difficult. If you are good at simplifying expressions, then equations shouldn't be too difficult. It's a little bit like an extension of expressions. Okay, so for the next question, I have this one for you. Number 2 would be 2/3 minus 5 bracket x plus 1 close bracket over 4 equals 9. I'm going to do is, again, common denominator between 3 and 4, lowest common multiple is 12. So this will give me 8, right? Next one, so times 3, so it becomes 15 on the outside. Then I'm going to combine this. So as you can see, again, don't touch the equation part yet, just deal with the expression. So be careful. So I chose the minus sign here is because I want to show you that a lot of people make careless mistakes here. When you write minus, later we'll come to it, okay? Be a bit more careful with it, because some people will write the sign wrongly. Now, I'm going to multiply it. Minus 15x minus 15. Okay? As you can see, some people may get this sign wrong. I've seen it many times. People write plus because they see it as though it is without the brackets. They're seeing it as 8 minus 15x plus 15. That is wrong, okay? Because what I'm doing is I'm multiplying minus 15 and plus 1. So this is minus 15 times 1 is minus 15. It should not be a plus. So keep that in mind, okay? I'm just gonna say that so at least you know to watch out for that. Okay. Again, just simplify this. Minus 15x minus 7. Okay, so now the expression is very nicely simplified. Then I'll do the equation bit. So again, this one here, okay? Times 12 on both sides. I should get minus 15x minus 7. 9 times 12 is 108. I should get minus 15x plus 8 on both sides here, because remember I want to isolate the x, right? And 7 is a bit too friendly. Oh, plus 8, sorry, I mean plus 7. And 7 is a bit too friendly. It's too close to minus 15, so this will give me 115. The next thing to do is basically point number 3. Divide by this number here. Divide by minus 15. So I should get x equals 115 over minus 15. Okay? So just simplify into simplest form. You should get 23 over 3 negative, which is also minus 7 and 2/3. So this is my final answer. X is negative 7 and 2/3. So that's all I want to show you today. It's actually not too difficult. It's, like I said, just an extension of expressions. It's just an expression with equals to some value, okay? So thank you for watching. Next video I'm going to talk about some basic algebraic identities. It'll be really interesting. I'll be talking about the geometric proof of 3 common identities. So do stay tuned. Thank you.